Hello and welcome back to my GTNH playthrough. It is Friday, August 7th, and just chilling over here in the desert. I was looking at my stack of compact reactors. Since the last video, I've added two more. I've kept up with the crafting one a night. Last night, I was crafting a bunch of ion harmony stuff, so instead of another QFT, I crafted a dimensional forge. You can see from my power on the side, the 8.5 e to the 19, I'm currently losing power because I've been crafting so much stuff and spamming so many UMV wireless hatches just to try to speed up the throughput. I haven't done much like building on the actual like expansion of stuff out, but a lot of these were still running at UEV. I kind of forgot that I ever like upgrade them all, so now they're all at, for the most part, all at UMV over here. Just stuff like that. I do have four maxed out QFTs that are ready to set up. I'm just not sure what stuff I want to move on them first, so just continue to craft them. Eventually, the goal will be, we've 28 to do every recipe, and like wipe these ones out and have the max versions of all of them. So, just kind of working on that. Like I said, though, I was crafted in the second Eye of Harmony. Currently, as it sits, this is most of it. The only block that is missing is the primitive stabilization field generator. So I just went with a tier 2. Basically, my plan is I've got my tier 1 one over here. I'm not sure where I'm going to put the second one. It might even just be out in the desert. This might be the only one I do close to the base. And then just kind of like go back and forth, updating the two to kind of like build through. But I just want to have two right off the bat. And I know eventually I'll be building more of these until I get access to the astral rays. I remember that being a thing, though. Well, I've just from an old CarX playthrough when he got to the Stargate. I just remember at some point he was doing just like tons of those. So that should be set up or should be done crafting by the time I get back from cards. At this point, I'm just waiting on a few of this stuff, which, like I said, I have been expanding my plasma forges over here, but I do think I need to work on recipe distribution as well. I mentioned before, I don't think I'm really taking good advantage of convergence. One of the kind of annoying things for convergence is for recipe to take advantage of it. It does need to be like this, where it's into the, like how we would have or used to set up multi-blocks where you use storage buses and stuff, because if you use the input buffer, it literally isolates it from anything else. So the recipe can't take advantage of extra catalysts to be able to go into the overclocking mode. But you know, like I said, I think my plan is, because I have all like my original thought, and I was just going like not really giving it too much thought, was, you know, I have these two on infinity. Once they hit convergence, you know, like then they're making infinity really fast. But instead, I think my thought's going to be is I'll have these make infinity and then not have the convergence use that recipe. It'll have it use the catalyst tier 4 instead. And then, at least if I understand how it works. I might be misunderstanding, and maybe once this hits convergence, it doesn't matter what recipe. If it has like dedicated catalyst, it might just still use the more amount, which then my thought process here is all wrong. But if it doesn't, then like just use tier 4 recipes for it so that this stays in convergence. So basically what's happening right now is just crafting way too many stuff, and I probably need to work on my plasma setups a bit to recipe distribution there. So these will hit convergence very quickly, go through all the catalyst, and then shut it down. And I think my actual main thing that's causing problems with keeping up with catalyst is calcium and zinc dust. Both seem to be like just a pain in the butt to keep up with. So some things I have to work on for the weekend. But I think so I was doing that stuff. I did have a lot of internet issues, so I wasn't able to play too much, but because of that, I did have to get a little more creative to keep things moving. And I'm kind of glad I did, because I think barring any major changes to this after beta 2, I think my new circuit I've come up with is just how I'm going to leave this thing running, because the way this condensate hatch works, or should work, is you just like set a condensate level and put a filter on there. Almost makes it seem like this is where you're supposed to build multiple of these for this little network, but this block is massive, so it doesn't, I don't know. I feel like there's some balancing issues with how this is intended to work, at least if I'm understanding how it's intended to work. I could just be completely wrong, but I don't know why I didn't think of the idea for this circuit sooner, because I was definitely way overthinking it with all of this junk over here. So all this is deactivated. I'm just going to leave it here as like a monument of my dumb progress. So what instead I went with is, so basically a similar vibe. So we got, this is the blue network. So the actual sub network, we put the recipe in. Level emitter 1. So as soon as I have an item on here, it's triggering in here. Ended up putting in 2 buffer gates, fully set to the max. So this is 500. So what's that, like over 12 seconds? I'm probably doing that math really badly. But whatever. It's a decent amount of time, because after I initially set it up, it worked really well. And then I had one item fail. Then after I did this setup, I eventually had another item fail. But anyways, all this one is a level emitter for if there's an item in the subnetwork for crafting. I always do this AND gate when I'm using these buffers, so that it doesn't have to wait on this buffer to end to stop sending a signal, but it also needs to wait on the buffer to send the signal. Over here, this guy is a receiver for a activity detector on the apparatus up here. So whenever this guy is running and making condensate, this thing cannot craft. It will only craft after all the condensate is made. So we don't even care what the level is in here, because we know in theory it should have all the condensate, because this isn't running anymore and the crafting network is in blocking mode. So there shouldn't be anything else coming. It just goes through everything it has to. And that was how I originally had it set up. And then this is just an override switch up there if I want to turn the multi-block off. Like I said, I still end up having one failure, and what I'm guessing happened is the way this operates off of like every 20 ticks, I lowered it down. I didn't realize that was a thing. So there's a whole second that these two could technically be lit up at the same time and fire off a recipe when it's not supposed to. So what I've done, just to kind of do a backup, which this is to warn you if you do want to add this part to it and not just make the input hatch or advanced stocking input hatch set down to 1 tick. This guy right here is off another activity detector on this thing. So when this thing is running, it will not emit a signal, and then it's got the same AND gate shenanigans over here, where so as soon as that thing starts running a recipe, this shuts off. Then there's a little bit of a buffer after it's finished that recipe and not running a recipe anymore, where it turns back on. So essentially this adds like a second blocking mode, but it makes it so in between every single craft there is a pause, which in theory, and it seems to be working now, I've crafted some pretty big stuff where this pauses and prevents any weird issues where these two might somehow, like just from delays from the stocking hatch or redstone in general, where these will accidentally fire off a new craft. So this is where I'm at now, and then all this is a transmitter up to the receiver up here, which then triggers the machine controller on here to run said recipes. So it seems to work. Obviously, it slows it down a little. The actual craft is still really fast because I have a ton of nanites in here, which I know is part of the problem. But honestly, if you look at, I'd rather fix the problem this way than by lowering the nanites and making recipes last longer, because some of them do get really, like if you look at it, it's supposed to be like 7,200 seconds. So with the 900 and something nanites, it's like 3 seconds for those recipes. So pretty good. And with this setup, I'd actually feel comfortable throwing more in there now if I need to, if these Harmony components start getting more and more, or slower and slower. So yeah, this is the big thing here. Like I said, once I get back from cards, my plan is to immediately set up that Harmony. It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend, so I'm not sure how much I'll actually play, but we'll see. Last time I said that I ended up playing more than I had in a weekend in a while, so, you know. But as soon as he's finished crafting, set up second Harmony, and then get more White Dwarf. I don't know if I'll make the tier 3. I might try to jump to tier 4 as the next one, or maybe I'll craft some tier 2 components to upgrade that first one I have over there. I don't know. I have to think about that. Which way is the smarter way to go about it? Probably honestly depends on how long I just leave the game sitting idle after I set that one up, whether I play a lot tomorrow and try to go do more stuff fast, or if I'll have a buildup of White Dwarf matter to craft like the tier 4 stuff to start making Black Dwarf matter instead. So yeah. Anyways, like I said, a little bit shorter of an update. The only other thing I did is just tons and tons of UMV energy hatches, and yeah, not really too much else because of all that internet problems. But anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you next week, or maybe tomorrow if I do end up making a ton of progress, but we'll see. Have a good weekend. Bye.